Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Rock Quality Itself podcast. My name's Joanne and this month I'll be joined by Ross as we talk about albums from June that we really enjoyed. As we're going to discuss a bit more, the Ghost Inside inclusion this month was a bit of a sticking point, but we decided to cover it. It's a difficult topic, but I feel like we addressed it as best as we could. In saying that, if anybody wants to skip, there will be links to the timestamps below. But yeah, I hope the rest of the albums were a bit of release from this one. If you want to support us further, we've got links to our social media below as well. I hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll be back next month as well. Cheers!
So the first album we're going to look at is probably the most awkward album of this whole month, if not the full year. The Ghost Inside's fifth album, the LA metalcore band who... okay, backstory for anybody that isn't aware. The band were involved in a bus crash in 2015 and it killed 2 people and caused their drummer to lose a leg and for the band to be completely unsure of their future. And this is the first album since then, if that wasn't enough of an exciting ordeal. The day after they released the album, tweets from the bassist Jim Riley got found from 5 years ago that were racist, and there's been previous allegations of just horribleness from him. So that was a bit awkward considering they just posted about, Black Lives Matter. And the band have not looked good after this, to put it mildly. Obviously their bassist got fired from the band after a few days, and essentially the album has been dropped from pretty much every music outlet, which is odd because I'm assuming that this album probably would have been a comeback. I've not been able to listen to it much, to be honest. I hadn't listened to it until all this happened, and then once I heard that this had happened, it was just like, I can't. But I know that you listened to it, so that's kind of how we're talking about it here. And we're just trying to separate kind of the art from the artist here. I know that it's hard to do that, especially with what everything's going on, but
yeah, this is done in like a common theme with me, because it happened with Lorna Shore as well, where their vocalist got right before the album came out, got dropped because of sexual harassment, and it was just like, for God's sake.
Yeah, I assume with that album, they never really got much coverage off that, did they?
No, and it was a shame because it was a great one, but
yeah. The people doing bad things kind of happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're I'm going to take a back seat on this one just because I haven't gave it the time. I've not been able to. So I'll just hand it over to Ross because I know you listened to it. I think from what I remember, you quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have given it a few listens so far, and with albums like this, I would normally before I review them, I'd listen to them 8 times. But I think just because of lockdown is just motivation and stuff like that, and I'm back to work as well, so I've only had an actual few listens. But every time I do listen to it, I seem to find something else I do like about it, because they seem to mix in a few genres into sort of each song to sort of keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Because obviously metalcore is one of those kind of genres that if not done right, after the first few songs, you're just kind of sick of it.
Yeah.
Unless if bands like Parkway Drive have kind of perfected the formula at this point where they can just make the whole album just amazing. It's not an album of the year or anything, but there's definitely a few tracks worth definitely checking out for different reasons. Even before we came on, I listened to the final track's called Aftermath, which is one of those ones I didn't really notice the first time, but after a few listens I'm like, oh, this is actually really freaking good. It weirdly starts sounding like Blink-182 at the end.
That's weird.
Because it's a heavy Blink, and then what keeps coming back into my head, there's a lyric in it they repeat a lot, which is whatever happened to my happy ending, and I just keep going back to Avril Lavigne in a weird kind of moment. But it's just a proper it's got one of those fist pumping moments just at the end where they just blast into it, and it's just that way you just get up and want to do anything. I just love tracks like that.
I've just realised that Aftermath, the one you're talking about, was the first single they'd released off the album, obviously before it got released. So I have heard it, but I can't say I remember it really. They released that and Pressure Point as their 2 singles before the album, and
yeah.
I remember listening to it and thinking it was, decent, but I mean, by the time all this happened, I was kind of just done with them. But I think they've always had a kind of unique part in the metalcore scene. They've always kind of been held up above kind of the generic, just out of date and 10 years old. But the Ghost Inside always seemed to be kind of keep going, even though they've been in hiatus for practically 5 years. People were always kind of invested in them and wanted them to come back and wanted them to do something.
Yeah, they're
So-
they're like one of those gateway bands that kind of like younger people get into more sort of like heavier metal. you
Yeah.
know?
So like again, I haven't listened to it, so I'd like kind of ask, what do you think about the album?
Generally, it's really good. I mean, one of
Yeah.
those ones I feel like if I'm doing something, I don't know, something, even if I'm like writing for something else, I could stick it on in the background and just like enjoy it and just kind of chill out to it,
Yeah.
even with as heavy as it is. It mixes in some hardcore at some points, like that song Pressure Point you were talking about.
Yeah.
This is one of the sort of harsher ones, and it's got like a breakdown at the end. It actually did remind me a little bit of Knocked Loose, but
Yeah. Nice.
like if they play it live, I can see guys spin kicking in like the mosh pit and all that, definitely.
Yeah. To me, at least from the people that I know that like the band, they've always been kind of described as like a kind of uplifting band. Like they
Yeah,
have,
definitely.
even though they're like a metalcore band, they have that kind of like unifying lyrics, almost like, you know, Kill Switch Engage or
Yeah, like the Aftermath song did have a moment that's kind of sort of like, I don't want to say emo, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like that kind of like that emo mentality of we're all in this together kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that happy ending thing, it does kind of
Yeah.
sound kind of emo without getting emo.
Yeah, if this, you know, if this hadn't happened, I feel like the whole narrative about this album would be completely different. It would be of that kind of, oh, we're back and we're all in this together. We've went through a lot, but it's
Yeah.
just odd, like how it doesn't really mean anything now. Like I can't even go back to it and reassess it. Yeah, it's a bit of a downer, but yeah, I had to start with that one just because, quite
No, I
frankly,
get that,
just wanted to get it out of the way, and then we could kind of move on to something a bit more, well, I would say light-hearted, but if the next one we're doing is going to be the Exhumed Gruesome split, I don't know how much
Right.
that's the case. So yeah, Exhumed and Gruesome have released Twisted Horror, which is split on Relapse Records. Was it 3 tracks from Exhumed and 2 from Gruesome? And I'm going to hand this over to Ross again because this is his pick. You'll probably see why in a minute.
I know, weirdly, this is like the one I have like the most to say about, and it's like
Yeah.
a 19-minute EP and the shortest thing here. So the thing that kind of connects them together is the vocalist, which is Matt Harvey, because he's like the vocalist for both bands. So obviously, I think I don't know if it's because of like the COVID, he's maybe not had a chance to do like a full studio album, so he's just kind of sticking work between the 2 albums and an EP
Yeah.
just to kind of keep the fans happy. Because I think, yeah, Gruesome's last album came out in 2018, and Exhumed had Horror last year, which was I did put that in my top 20 albums of the year, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I remember you really liking that one.
Yeah, I love
And
that
that's
one.
probably why you kind of followed up with that band more generally.
Yeah, exactly. And I know I probably go on about it in like every single review that I've done on the page, but obviously I'm a big horror fan, and anytime there's like horror and metal, I'm just like right there, just ready to kind of hear
Yeah.
it.
I take it this split is horror themed as well, like,
Oh,
you know,
definitely.
just like 2 death metal bands get
I mean,
together to do, well, do they cover each other's songs or is it brand new songs?
From what I can tell, they're brand new songs, unless it's from
Right.
like death metal bands I've never heard of. But yeah, even looking at the title tracks, you can tell like there's Rot Your Brain and Dead or Deadest. So yeah, they're definitely not like being subtle about it, but I kind of love it.
I mean, just typical death metal, that, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially.
19-minute long 5-track album. Yeah.
It's like I said about Exhumed, like Ice Nine Kills are like the sort of cheesy 80s like sort of horror music, whereas Exhumed are like one of those band movies with like too much gore.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the case here, because I think the 3 tracks that they have add up to probably about 9-10 minutes of runtime.
Yeah.
But it's the same with like their horror album, where it's just completely fast paced, just keep raging through it, and it feels like they're all done in no time at all. Especially like Buried to Die and that, they just have like these ripping solos, frenetic drums, just everything is just speed metal just going right through it, mixed in that horror. Rot Your Brain was a bit surprising as well, because that's like a 4-minute track, and literally every track in the last album was between like a minute and 2 minutes, so
Yeah.
having I guess you could call it a longer track was kind of strange, but they did it well.
Is that Exhumed or
That's
Gruesome?
Exhumed, sorry.
Yeah.
Every track I'm
So-
talking about just now is Exhumed, because
Right.
I'll get into Gruesome in a sec.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
But yeah, I would recommend, essentially just from this whole EP, I would just recommend all the Exhumed tracks. There's only 3 of them, but they're all worth checking out, and hopefully
On the
we'll
other
get into
hand.
Yeah, on the other hand. So Gruesome are kind of a weird case, because they were recommended to me, I think, like last year from our friend Nathan, because I'm a big fan of Chuck Schuldiner Death, you know, one of the best old school death metal bands. And Gruesome's essentially, I don't want to say a copy because they're not a copy, but they essentially just try to like replicate the sound and kind of come up with their own music.
Yeah.
But I tried to get, I think it was the last album, Twisted Prayers, I tried to get into, but halfway through I just kind of gave up because it just sounded like they were just doing the sound without doing like their own thing, like just actually trying to copy it. And I hope they're not. Like maybe they've got other albums that are great, but this album didn't. It didn't really help on this album as well because their 2 tracks on here do come after the Exhumed tracks, and they're like they're like kind of a lot more slower paced. They might be fine on their own, but after the Exhumed tracks, they just feel like a sort of come down, and it kind of ruins the EP a little bit to the point where I'm like, I kind of just want to turn this off and go listen to Exhumed for a bit.
It's a bit weird that they put like slower tracks on a death metal split. Like,
it's not really slow. Like for death metal standards, it's probably standard, but compared to Exhumed, it feels like which is weird. So it kind of just feels like a full sort of stop. The second track's a lot better than the first one. I didn't actually write down the names, I would have to. But they'll just be called
like, be something mad anyway.
Yeah, I only wrote down the Exhumed tracks and they were the ones I like.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's still worth checking out, I'd say, for the Exhumed stuff, because Exhumed are awesome. Like, I don't know why I've still not listened to their older stuff, I really need to, especially after this. But if you liked horror, then you'll love this. But the Gruesome tracks are okay, they're just misplaced here and kind of a downer after the first 3 great tracks.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like when you see a really good support band and then the actual main band isn't as good, and you're just kind of it's still good, but that support band was really good.
Don't know if that's ever happened to me, but yeah.
It's probably, I think it has happened to me, but like that's another story there. So yeah, that's Exhumed and Gruesome, Twisted Horror. On to one of my picks. I don't know if you've listened to it. It's Dream Squasher. I know it's a stupid name, right? But the band's called 16, as in the numbers 1, 6 and some brackets sometimes. Yeah, like if you type in 1, 6, you'll get it on Spotify, but they are also known as dash bracket 1, 6 bracket dash. This one was also released, actually all 3 of these albums so far were released on the 5th of June. This one's a bit different. We've got basically like an LA sludge metal band. If you think of bands like I Hate Gods, Crowbar, Acid Bath, even Down, very kind of grimy, bluesy Louisiana sludge scene that was prominent in the 90s. I've heard some people call it, is it heroindom? It's not hard to see why. It just sounds dirty. It's like Alice in Chains, but more disgusting somehow.
It sounds like Blackstone Cherry on acid.
Oh, like an evil version of Blackstone Cherry, like crawling up from the sewer on heroin.
I'm looking at the track list and I see there's a song called Summer of 96. Is that like a weird cover or like a reference?
No.
To like Bryan Adams? No.
I wish though. That would be so funny.
Yeah.
No, it's sort of completely different. It's just a brand new song. It's actually a really good track though. Got notes on it here. Yeah, but I'll go back to the other stuff actually. So basically, the kind of really dirgy, low, abrasive like guitar tone that kind of reminds me of bands like Melvins, but with the kind of guttural vocal style of this vocalist. I don't have his name here, but it's like kind of bluesy but really dirty. Like I say, it's like Delta blues but grilled by some mad man that's literally just kind of risen up from the dead.
Lovely.
Yeah, but it's weird though, because even though it sounds so like dark and low, it kind of sounds warm as well. That bluesy kind of feel to it in songs like Sadlands, which has like organ playing and like wah guitar and stuff, and it like just has this like kind of classic 70s sound that's just, it's called Sadlands but it's joyful. And then there's a track called Agora later on that sounds like The Wizard by Black Sabbath. It's like,
nice.
It literally has pretty much almost the same harmonica. If you hear The Wizard, you know what I'm talking about, but it makes me think that they've not copied it, but it definitely pays homage to Black Sabbath, and you can hear that quite commonly throughout this album. You would maybe like this one. There's a song called Acid Tongue, which is like Electric Wizard with a kind of hardcore edge. It's like totally disgusting, but so good. Other kind of songs, they've got Summer of 96. I keep saying that now. Summer of 69. I kind of want to hear that now. So, Summer of 96 is obviously about summer 96, but I don't know what kind of summers they were having. But yeah, just another like really doomy stomping song, but it's got a catchy vocal line, kind of like the, I don't know what number it is, but there's a song called Me and the Dog Die Together.
Oh.
I know. Yeah, but that's actually one of the kind of catchier songs on here, alongside Summer of 96. So yeah, this is like a 10 song album of just sludgy metal, but there's still like enough to keep me interested in it, because sometimes sludge metal can just be totally oppressive and too sludgy, but this is like get enough variation with the organ and the kind of melodies just to keep me interested. I think if you're into any of the kind of bands, you know, I Hate God, Crowbar, even Acid Bath, I think you would dig this. It's really good. Like, I had no idea about this band until listening to this album, but I definitely like want to go back and listen to the other stuff.
It's when you said that hardcore Electric Wizards, I've just got like this image of like guys with like doobies chilling out and then suddenly just running into a mosh pit and just fling them about the place.
Yeah, pretty much. That's Dream Squasher by 16. We're going to, it's another one of your picks. Another band that I hadn't heard of until you put it in here, Valdrin with Effigy of Nightmares.
Yeah, it's one I hadn't heard of either, to be honest. It's just one of those ones, like, every time we look for releases, like, if there's a couple of, like, more well-known ones, like Ghost Inside and Exhumed, I usually like to find, like, a more obscure one to try and talk about, and obviously the releases this month or last month have been a bit, well, not great. There's not a lot to choose from.
Not a lot of choice, yeah.
But the name definitely drew me to this one, like Effigy of Nightmares, obviously. And then I saw the album cover, which is kind of like a nightmarish Super Mario 64 level, so I was like, yeah, this looks pretty good.
I mean, I kind of assumed that it was going to be a black or death metal album anyway, because it was your pick, but when I did see the kind of the album cover, I was like, yeah, definitely it's going to be extreme metal of some kind. I didn't listen to all of this. I gave it like a quick, you know, a couple of songs a quick listen, like, but I was surprised by the first song that was kind of calm piano playing at the start.
And yeah, there's Gates of Hospice. I think that's just more of like a sort of intro track, which is weird. Which is weird because it's like the whole album's only like 30 minutes, like exactly. But there's like two sort of like instrumental tracks. So you only really get like 25 minutes worth of like sort of proper tracks, if you want to call them that. I did like Gates of Hospice. Like I know I keep going back to video games, but I did get like a sort of like a Silent Hill flashback with like piano playing, which anyone that's played those games, you know, the kind of psychological horror that comes with that. So that's always fun.
It's just like not what you kind of really expect when you listen to. It's a black metal album, right?
Technically, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like when you get like folk black metal, where it's got like that kind of sort of black metal base, but then they add stuff on top of it. It's kind of the same as that. So you get like your black metal vocals, your black metal instruments, but then they also add in like sort of pianos and organs and a bit of melody here and there just to kind of break it up a little bit.
And normally you wouldn't get like a piano track like that at the start of an album. Usually you would get a kind of heavy one to start with, and then it would maybe be later on that you'll get the piano track. Whereas with that one, it was a piano track. So when I first played it, I was like, I still don't know what kind of band this is. And then obviously once it got to like the second track, I was like, okay, it's a black metal band or whatever.
There's even like the first track, which I think I'm saying this right, is Exsanguination Tunnels. I still don't know what that word means. I probably should look it up. But yeah, it basically just gives you the idea of like what the whole sort of album's going to be like. So it starts off with that fast-paced black metal with like the growling vocals, and then they add in like the orchestral backing, and it's, I don't know, it almost sounds like Phantom of the Opera. Like I just imagine someone like playing this in like a spooky mansion with like black metal makeup in there. And there's even a bit with like galloping bass, and obviously I always go back to Iron Maiden because I'm me, but it does actually sound like that for a good bit of it. It does have like a nice sort of horror feel as well, a bit of atmosphere, so anyone that's looking for that is basically what the whole album's like. Track after that as well, it's Red, I think I'm saying it right, Red Burning Candles of Hatred, which is a pretty good title. It's pretty much the same, although less sort of melody and more just sort of aggressive sort of riffing and solos and things like that, more for a live crowd to kind of get them going. But yeah, basically the whole kind of album's like that. Like I said, there's one more instrumental, which is Serpentine Blood Halls, which the guitar at the start I just love. You know, that way they just like someone just plays a guitar and it just hits you like right in the heart. Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Is it kind of like kind of melodic? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that sort of dark melody, but it starts off like that, then sort of hits us with synths and sounds more like sort of like an 80s horror movie. So it's got a lot going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does this compare to kind of other black metal albums that you've listened to this year?
I don't know. I feel like I'm still sort of learning. Like I'm starting to enjoy like the sort of black metal with folk music more. You know, bands like Soar and who was it I was listening to last month? Sojourner. You know, bands like that.
Oh yeah.
Sort of just layer tons of stuff on top of it just to make it amazing. But Because I'm starting to go off like sort of pure black metal, like Mayhem. I mean, they're fine, but they're kind of boring. But anytime you can sort of throw in something that's a bit sort of unique and give it a unique sound, then it's always good. And
I
this
think
is basically the same.
that's basically the thing that gets me with black metal. Like, you know, second wave black metal just sounds so. I know it's meant to sound this way, but so lo-fi that it's practically unlistenable. That's how like the kind of modern black metal stuff that I like, you know, like Behemoth, Sour. Not that many, to be honest, but you know, Wolves in the Throne Room, like atmospheric stuff. It's just got a really like a better production kind of value to it and sense of melody. So I probably would like this. I just need to go. I do need to go back to it. How do you rate this album?
Well, again, it's not like album of the year or anything like that. But again, I can't really say anything like bad about it. Like, it's only 30 minutes. It's pretty short, and everything you get feels like it should be there. I mean, I would have been fine if they included like maybe one or two more tracks just to make it a bit longer. But as it is, it's still pretty fine the way it is, to be honest. Yeah,
that's something I'm going to mention with an album later on.
Oh, I think I know which one.
Yeah, it's not the next one anyway. Is that what one you thought it was? Okay, no. So next one, obviously my pick because it is New Found Glory. The album's called Forever and Ever X Infinity. I don't know whether you're supposed to pronounce X, but yeah, Forever and Ever Infinity. It's the 10th album from the Florida pop punk godfathers, which at this point they could practically be pop punk grandfathers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you haven't listened to this.
No, I haven't listened to New Found Glory since whatever their big famous song was, like 15 years ago.
Right, so yeah, this is going to be another one from me. Like New Found Glory for me have been one of the kind of standout pop punk bands, like, you know, bands like Blink-182 up until the last album were doing alright, but you know, who else? Good Charlotte have had a ropey past couple of years. Green Day, Some 1 have done okay as well, but New Found Glory have been the one that stuck at what they've done. Really, you know, they haven't went in wild directions, haven't tried to do a pop album or some kind of that bloody Blink album that's just produced. John Feldman effect. Like the only real album I can say that they didn't do so well in was the last one, which is called Makes Me Sick in 2017, which they kind of went in a kind of softer, kind of pop rock direction. I don't think it really made an impact, and to be honest, I probably didn't even listen to the full thing because it just was not what I wanted from them. The album before that, Resurrection, was at the time probably one of my favourite albums of the year, which would have been in 2014 or 15. I know that like just a really good hardcore meets pop punk easycore type album. Like if you like A Day to Remember, even like 4 Years Strong, you would maybe have liked that. So going into this one, my expectations were a bit low because I don't think they're going to make anything too remarkable, but they released a couple of singles. One of them was called Shook by Your Shaved Head. It kind of gave an indication of what they were going to do this time, whereas the last album was just kind of sounded a bit old. This one is like as if they're kind of just going back to what they are good at, which is just writing really kind of breezy, fun, pop punk, catchy songs. And it's kind of impressive how young they still sound. Like they all must be in their 40s, if not approaching their 40s, and they don't sound embarrassing like some other bands would. You know, Good Charlotte still writing songs about high school when they're like 40. It's and yeah, it's not something you want to listen to, and it's not too fun. But yeah, like there's more good songs on this than bad. I wouldn't say there's not really any bad songs on it, to be honest. There's quite a few really catchy ones. You've got obviously Shook by Your Shaved Head, which the title's daft, but it's actually a catchy song. You've got Greatest of All Time, which kind of sounds a bit like Skiba era Blink-182 in the verses. So does Stay a While. Same Side Splitters is another kind of Blink song, but it's very fast, which again, I like. I've just written out all the songs and I'm just like losing track.
No, I was going to say, actually, just looking at it like on Spotify, that's a lot of tracks. That's like 15. Because like looking at, like I had the same issue with, I think it was the last Blink album that came out, which you didn't advise I should listen to it, but I decided, screw it, I'll listen to it. But it was like kind of like the musical equivalent of like Popcorn, where it's like, it's fine, we're meeting it, but there's so much stuff that's just like not landing.
Yeah.
So is it the same issue in this album with like maybe too many tracks, or?
Not really. Like, there is a few songs that I could do without. Like, I mean, pop punk bands are never too good at doing the whole like acoustic, slower song, and there is a couple of those on here. I think it's More and More. Yeah, More and More and the final song, Slipping Away. I mean, they're fine. They're not embarrassing. They're just kind of like, oh, it's a pop punk band doing a soft song. Very kind of over sentimental, very cheesy. But again, that's what you get in a pop punk album. But when you want cheesy pop punk, you want just fun, energetic pop punk, not love songs that are just really kind of cringy. The actual like More and More is okay. It's kind of similar to the softer songs on Coming Home, which was another album where they went kind of like alt rock direction. The last one is, again, it's not terrible, but it goes on for way too long. Pretty sure that one's like 6 minutes long, which for pop punk bands, no. Like the first half is like the kind of acoustic, almost like Sunny from Sticks and Stones. I know you wouldn't be familiar with it, but it's another kind of softer song about kind of loss and stuff. This one's obviously more kind of melancholic. But yeah, it kind of goes for way too long. It kind of tries to do something quite good at the end. It kind of builds and has that kind of like light in the air kind of sing-along moment towards the end, but it takes far too long to get to it. Like they could have just made it a 3-minute song and it would have been better. I'm trying to think. There's another kind of yikes moment on the album. It's the song's called Trophy, and it's about somebody being a trophy, as in the line says, "You're my trophy. I hope I didn't objectify you. You make me feel like a winner when I'm standing by you." Yeah, I mean, lyrics like that, you could have got away with that in the early 2000s, but
yeah, I don't know.
yeah, I mean, come on, they're like 40 and they're clearly aware. I hope I didn't objectify you. Well, I mean, you clearly did. It's pretty dumb. Like, it's annoying because the song's actually really catchy and it's probably one of the better tracks here, but that lyric, every time I hear it, I'm just like, it just makes you feel kind of disgusting. It's just, why would you even think of doing that? It's not the worst thing I've ever heard, but come on, you could do better than writing something like that. And the rest of the song probably isn't that great, but like lyrically, but that's the main one that makes me go, ooh. You've got
trap.
Yeah, like you can imagine that playing like a nu metal song in the 90s. Just yep. Pop punk's never had a great reputation for, treating women well, but
yeah, classiness.
Yeah, you'll appreciate this song title. Scarier than Jason Voorhees at a campfire.
Voorhees.
Sorry. Voorhees. Clearly, I'm really familiar with horror.
Geeky soul just coming out.
Yeah, it has another big chorus, but oddly enough, like the verses make me think of, remember at school when you used to have those like odd kind of country songs that they would play at discos? Yeah. Like Cotton Eye Joe. The vocalist Jordan, like his voice there makes it sound like one of those songs. Like it's got a kind of twang to it. It's odd. Like once I noticed it, the kind of second time I listened to it, it's not stopped in my head. So it's good, but the bloody verses just make me think of like, where did you come from? I
think I do get that now.
Yeah, but no, like as a whole, I actually enjoyed this. Like you say with previous albums, it's not like, well, I say it's not top 20 of the year, but knowing me, it probably will be, just because this year has been very, there's nothing, and also it's just a fun album. Like it's been a while since I've had an album that I've just that I could put on and go and just, enjoy it for being kind of a bit lighthearted. Most albums just seem to be really depressing now. So, yeah, it's got like this kind of nostalgia for early New Found Glory that's really just refreshing. Like the songs definitely aren't as good as the ones on Resurrection. Like that's definitely one of my favourite New Found Glory albums by some distance. But yeah, like if you like pop punk, stick this on because New Found Glory are still one of the best, and I imagine that most of these songs will be really good live. There's some heavy moments. New Found Glory have always been good at kind of integrating hardcore with pop punk. Yeah, like just give us a listen. We'll be on to Lamb of God, which...
Here we go.
Here we go, the big one. I think this might... I don't actually know what you think of this one because...
Really?
Well, I've kind of guessed by now, but...
Maybe not what you think.
Like when we were both approaching this, I think I kind of assumed that you would like this more than me, but I don't know how much that's going to be the case. So yeah, this is the 10th or 8th album by Lamb of God, depending on whether you count Burn the Priest as Lamb of God. I would say that it's 8th, but some people out there have been saying it's 10th. It's up.
The last album was literally called 7 as well, so that probably helps.
Yeah, I would say 8th, but Burn the Priest's EP is oddly enough on Lamb of God's Spotify.
I suppose.
Anyway, this is the first album from Lamb of God since 2015, Sturm und Drang, which I don't actually know what you think of that album.
Well, actually, I think of that album the same way I think of this one, but I don't know if you want me to wait until we properly go into it.
Okay, I will just set this up a wee bit more. It's also the first album without Chris Adler.
Oh, yeah.
Did you forget about that?
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
I don't know how, we'll get into that as well, but yeah, Chris Adler's been pretty crucial to the Lamb of God sound, I would say. Like, when you hear his drumming throughout their whole career, it's just one of those drummers that you can recognise as being him. He's got a unique sense of playing, so when he left, a lot of people were going, I don't know whether this band can be the same. They got in Art Cruz, who's known for playing with bands like Winds of Plague and Prong, amongst others. But yeah, to be honest, I think his absence is... It's not completely obvious. Like, if somebody said, oh, this is Lamb of God, I don't think it would be instantly recognisable that he isn't in the band, but, you know, the more you listen out for it, you go, okay, you can tell that he isn't in the band anymore. So yeah, we'll get started on this one. First track is Memento Mori, which I'm pretty sure you like.
Yeah, I do love this one, yeah.
It's, I think it's kind of similar to what, you know, Sturm und Drang was kind of like, I would say Lamb of God kind of trying to experiment a little bit, kind of going outside the box. Memento Mori kind of continues that. It kind of starts with like a ominous, odd kind of echoing noises and children whispering. Like, it's hard to describe. I would say it's kind of like Nick Cave or something. It's very slow and very not Lamb of God. Like,
that does work. It does work well as an intro. It's got kind of like I can picture it being like the sort of like the way their sort of live set will open, like the stage will go dark and then that ominous sound will play, and then when the band actually kicks in, that's when the lights will go on. So I think it's going to work in that kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, it kind of, for me, it goes on a bit too long. Like, it's like a solid minute and a half that kind of builds. I wouldn't even say builds, it just kind of goes until obviously you've got the kind of more normal Lamb of God sound when Randy screams, wake up or something. It's definitely like an interesting thing that they do, but for me, I kind of wish that they did something a bit more with it, like, you know, develop it a bit more or make it come back later on. Like, it does kind of come back later, but it just goes quiet and it comes back later instead of recurring throughout the song, or it's just odd. Like, usually with a Lamb of God's album, you kind of want that initial heavy song to start with. I think that's probably where our opinions differ on this track, because I think that the instrumental section would have been better even maybe at the end of the album. Yeah, it's an odd choice for me. Like, it's interesting, but
it's a good sing along one. It's one that's going to like get stuck in people's heads and just have them sing along. Like, I can like hear it in my head like right now, like the wake up bit. But it's
yeah,
going to
like
be
once it kicks in, it's just like a kind of solid Lamb of God song. I almost wish that first part was separate from the main song, because the second part is really, you know, kicking you in the face, which it just almost like the two parts don't really go together that well if they're just going to integrate them a bit more. Anyway, I think we probably both agree with Checkmate.
Checkmate's a weird one, man.
Yeah, like I think that was the first.
Yeah, it was the first single,
yeah.
Which is confusing.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I thought it was okay, but the more that I've listened to it, it's a kind of another move into something new from them. Like, they kind of go in, like, to start with this kind of bluesy lead lick that kind of reminds me of, like, Walk With Me in Hell. Just that kind of groovy, almost, like, slower bluesy lead guitar.
For me, I thought it sounded a bit too familiar to the beginning of the track "Ghost Walking" from Resolution. Like, it was
I think that's
almost
the song. I think that's the song I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
See, that's my problem with Lamb of God. Yeah, like, it feels very familiar, which is, I mean, some people that'll be a really good thing. They'll be like, yes, more Lamb of God, but like, when you literally think it sounds exactly like another song, albeit with the wrong title. I'll obviously mention this a bit later on, but it's kind of like Lamb of God by numbers to me.
Yeah, I would say so.
And
It's not even got like a kind of hook to kind of like bring you in. There's no like sort of big catchy chorus. There's not like
Yeah.
any sort of major like instrumental section. It's just kind of all there. You know, like the first time I heard it, I actually said like, "Was that it?" And I thought it might grow on me like the Catastrophist did with Trivium, but it just never did.
yeah, what the thing with this song is, it would maybe be redeemed if the lyrics were any good.
I don't mind them. I like the political nature because obviously they're going after America, which is pretty screwed up nowadays. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think we kind of dislike the song for different reasons. For me, it's I can't get on board with the lyrics of this song at all. Like the sentiment, yeah, but like having lyrics like "All hail the money gods" and "The American Scream," it's just a bit. I mean, Randy is an intelligent guy. Like just hearing him kind of being so ham-fisted, like basically like, you know, orange guy bad. Like I'm pretty sure if he put more effort in, he could have. I don't know if it's him that's wrote it, but how he's delivering the songs and they just sound a bit like, come on, you can do better than this. Like
I feel like the Eye That Is Murder might have stolen a bit of his thunder because a lot of the lyrics sound like they could have came from something like Lamb of God.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had the like pure cringe like roll my eyes at Thy Art Is Murder though. Like with this song, I think it's because it is so familiar and almost basic. You just hear the American Scream over and over again, and it's just
yeah, it doesn't help. That's also like a Nice Nine Kill song as well, which obviously probably doesn't help you.
Oh, I wouldn't even know, but it just sounds like the sort of thing that they would write and think it was clever. I think that he could do better. He's been very kind of outspoken about America's political environment, and there's a lot more lyrics, but those were the worst ones, and they stick with me. I think this was also the first kind of example where I kind of noticed that Art Cruz's drumming is just, on this song in particular, it doesn't really add all that much to the kind of more basic feel of the song. I think Adler, if he was in this, you know, if he was still in the band, he would have like done something a bit more. Like, you know, he's usually got mad kind of drum fills and he's doing kind of off kind of timing. Where Cruz is just like, do a blast beat and that's it.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. He's doing what he's basically been told, it seems, and not really kind of stepping outside of the sound of the song.
He's basically like Jason Newsted in Metallica at the start.
Just do what we tell you, even if it's Checkmate for me is probably the worst song on the album. But
maybe, I don't know.
So there might be something else for you. So like, what's your other highlights of this album? Because you're probably a better person to ask than me.
Well, after Checkmate, I think it does pick up a bit.
Yeah.
But again, it's what I was going to say earlier was it's almost exactly the same like the last album for me, Seven, Durm and Strang, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Where it's the case of like the first few tracks have like some absolute bangers that I still listen to, like Still Echoes and another one I can't remember the name of right now.
Embers? I don't think that's probably the one you're thinking of, but the one with Chino from Deftones is also really good.
Painted Red, that's it. My Hands Are Painted Red.
Yeah.
I
think they still play that live, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of got that issue where there's like so many good tracks, but then there's other tracks that are just like kind of there and are unmemorable, and this album does kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, because the next two tracks I think are great, like Gears and Reality Bath they're bringing back that energy that the first couple of tracks maybe didn't quite have.
Yeah.
Like, especially Reality Bath throwing in some like thrash elements that appear now and again.
I've written down Reality Bath, like the start where it's either the bass guitar or the guitar. It's got this kind of low sound. It almost reminds me of Tool. It's got a kind of like lumbering, kind of like proggy feel to it. Like, yeah, if you listen to it, I don't know if I'm just being weird, but it did. It reminded me. It was just something I've never heard from Lamb of God before, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But then they kind of just forget about it again. I do like that song just kind of, it does pick up and it's got a bit of kick to it towards the end.
Yeah.
It probably is probably one of the better ones. Gears as well, like you say, it's just, it kind of goes full throttle. Like, what you want from that band is intensity, and that's what those two songs give you, like, as opposed to some of the other ones here. Trying to think.
I can name them. Well, there's Resurrection Man, which is, I think it's kind of half okay. It's like a 5-minute track, and I think it kind of picks up like the last 2 minutes it speeds up a bit, but the start of it just feels kind of slow and just there, and I can't just listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, I've got that as well. It's kind of tries to go for some kind of groove, like kind of slower, groovy thing, but it just kind of drags, to be honest, until it gets to the kind of circle pit bit.
Yeah.
I don't know, in the middle of the track, I think it is, so it just obviously picks up.
Yeah, it's just too long. I mean, they could have just done that little bit as an intro, like they did with the first song, and then got into it. But it is what it is. And even looking at my notes, like I've even just got for the song. I must have got bored because for the song "Bloodshot Eyes," I just put "fine," I guess, and I didn't actually write anything else.
Yeah,
like, I was just like,
I wrote the song is a bit forgettable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're in agreement on that. And we've got 2 songs that have guest vocalists, and they're back to back, which is again, like, you would think they would have spaced it out maybe a wee bit, but anyway, the first one is Poison Dream, which features Hatebreed's Jamie Jasta, and obviously the second one, which would be more in your cup of tea, is one Roots with Testaments, Chuck Billy. I'll go with Poison Dream first. This one was odd for me because, see, honestly, if I hadn't looked at the track list, I wouldn't have noticed that Jamie Jasta was in it. This song is like, instead having the vocals like bounce off each other, they kind of just put them together, and then like Jamie Jasta has like a kind of short solo section, but just kind of gets lost in the song. Like, it just feels like a wasted opportunity. Like, it doesn't really make that much of an impression, to be honest.
Yeah, it's another forgettable one for me. It's just one I didn't really write anything about. The only thing I kind of noted, I thought Randy's vocals on it were especially good. At least I think it was Randy. It could have been Jasta. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Randy.
That's the problem with that one. Like, I had to really listen hard and go, okay, that's definitely Jamie Jasta, but they just didn't do it enough that was different between the 2 vocal lines. And the song is just like a typical, slightly more swaggering song, but it just sounds like another Lamb of God song. You know,
pretty much, yeah.
Like with the Deftones, as in the one that Chino Moreno's on Sturm and Drang, they completely change the song when he comes on. It kind of goes all kind of atmospheric and kind of swirling and spacious, like, you know, like a Deftones track. And you go, okay, and then Chino's obviously really distinctive voice comes in, whereas on this one, it's like, where is he?
Yeah.
Is that Randy or Jamie? I think the second one with Chuck Billy is in Roots. I think you can't really make that assertion for that one.
Yeah.
It's almost too much like Testament. For me,
it's a very thrashy one, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like they've just flicked a switch and just plugged in, an 80s one of those jaggy guitars and just went, okay, thrash.
It must be like a requirement from like Chuck, because he did the same way when he featured in Killswitch's track The Crownless King, where it's like the only song on the album that's like a total thrash song. So he must just like request that whenever he has to be featured in something.
When I'm in the song, I have to write the song as well. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. It does sound exactly like an 80s thrash song.
And then his actual albums that comes out is just meh, so that's always fun.
It is like, to me, this one sounds like a Testament song with Brandy on guest vocals rather than the other way around.
I don't know, it's kind of like that Post Malone track at the end of the Aussie album. It's like, where did this come from?
Yeah, like, what do you think of this one? Like, I've been looking forward to asking, because obviously you're really into your thrash, and
yeah,
I thought this one could go either way.
It's just a fun thrash track, to be honest. And after like Poison Dream and Resurrection Man, we're a bit disappointed. Kind of felt we could just have a song to just kind of chill out and enjoy. Like, it's not up to like the levels of like some of the previous tracks there, like Reality Bath and that, but it's still just a fun track to have on there, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably one of the more different songs on it, but
yeah, it breaks up the monotony a little bit.
Yeah, it just doesn't really sound like Lamb of God though, which is the problem. If they did just integrated the thrash sound with the Lamb of God sound, it would be like, oh, this is amazing. But yeah, it just ends up for me being a bit meh. I only get one song after this, which is On the Hook, the last song, which is like the heaviest song on the full album, is it not?
Yeah, it did say that a bit for me, because it does almost go on like full death metal at points, but I kind of like that as like a final track.
I wrote that as well. It's very much like Burn the Priest, kind of their early kind of roots.
I just wish there was more tracks like it, like throughout the album, like just replace something like this with Poison Dream and all that, and you'd probably have something a bit more solid.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's almost too late by that point. Like,
at least it saves that a little bit.
If they'd thrown that song out maybe in the first couple of songs, you'd be like that. Oh yes, but it's kind of like fine.
Just a last try.
Yeah, I was like, okay, but then it kind of closes with kind of like moody guitars again. for me, like I say, if that first intro was at the end, I'd go, all right, okay, that makes sense. You've got the moody guitars, and then it goes into the kind of weird noises. But honestly, for me, this whole album is just another Lamb of God album that, honestly, the last few have not really excited me. There's been a couple of songs on the last few that I've enjoyed. This one, there has been, but not quite so much. Like, honestly, don't think I'll go back to much of this at all. The weird thing is that I do think they will be quite good live. I think they'll be energetic and stuff, but I think I'm not really interested in Lamb of God anymore.
Yeah, the last like kind of majorly great album was Sacrament, and that was like 2006, and they've only released like 4 albums since then, but they've all just kind of been like kind of ranged from like meh to pretty good. And that's kind of been nothing like majorly good.
I think there's been a few people that think that this is amazing, which fair enough, they do probably just like this kind of music, but I think it has been a long time since Lamb of God have done anything truly memorable, like good. I don't know.
They've had great tracks now and again. It's kind of like Foo Fighters, where it's kind of like meh albums, but some really good tracks to kind of keep you going.
Yeah.
I like the album. I think it is a good album. I just think there's a few tracks that do let it down and ends up just being good when I was kind of hoping for great. So
yeah, I mean, especially after a 5-year break, you're kind of hoping for something a bit more. I do think that obviously Chris Adler leaving the band has had a massive impact. Like, you don't just name an album Lamb of God after a member leaves for no reason. But you kind of hope that when you do that they've got something to prove, and it just doesn't really live up to that. Anybody that's listened to this, if you like Lamb of God, I can't see that you wouldn't like this, but I just wouldn't expect it to be the best Lamb of God album or anything like that. Yeah, it's alright.
I think it makes it more disappointing when we've got like a month of like not much coming out, and Lamb of God's like a major release, and you're just hoping for something, and it's just this is alright.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we've had like albums from Trivium and even from Bleed From Within that have just been so much better than this, like just step it up. Anyway, we're on to the last album, which is one of my picks. It's called Close by Ohhms. I think that's how you say it, Ohhms, and it's on Holy Roar, which Holy Roar are just amazing. Basically, anything that Holy Roar puts out, I'll at least check out or look into, because they've just been one of the best for hardcore, for kind of doomy experimental metal, and Employed to Serve, try to think Conjurer are on Holy Roar as well. There's so many, it's hard to actually think, but yeah, speaking of Conjurer, Ohhms, first of all, I should say this is the 5th album from the band. They're from Canterbury, and it follows on from 2018's Exist. This is the first one I've listened to, but after seeing that it was on Holy Roar and seeing it was a kind of doomy post-metal album, I was like, okay, this is definitely going on the list, and I'm really glad that it did, because it does remind me of bands like Conjurer, but probably more so Curse's Metal Hands, which we both like that album. I know. Just so like a gorgeous album, and gorgeous and also heavy, kind of really spacious and lush guitar lead lines that are just blissful, especially the first song on that one. I can't remember the name of it, but Curse's Metal Hands, that one. Also sound like bands like Boss Colloid and Pelican, so like kind of post metal. But starting off with Alive. I don't know, did you listen to this album?
I did not know.
No.
I should have prepared.
That's fine. I just thought when you said Alive, I was like, did you?
That's just because I'm looking at it.
You looking at it? Yeah, that's fair. You could help me when I clearly forget the song titles. Yeah, Alive is, like the first song on Curse's Metal Hands album, whatever that one's called. It's just super. You could bathe in the guitar tone. It's just unfolds in such a amazing way. It's even hard to put into words. But basically, Alive is basically that. But over 9 minutes, it kind of moves into, it kind of adds layers to it over and over until the intensity builds. And then there's this recurring kind of riff that comes in at the start, very subtly, but it just gets heavier and heavier until it all just comes crunching in. And then he starts screaming, it's just harsh vocals. It's just so good. It's kind of doomy, bluesy almost. Again, kind of common theme with me. Another common theme, he kind of sounds like a shouty Ozzy Osbourne, oddly enough. But that combined with the doomy post-metal expansive sound is just really nice to listen to. Post-metal is quite a difficult genre, and doom can be quite difficult as well, but when you've got kind of more melodic, bluesy lines and Ozzy Osbourne like vocals on it, just so easy to listen to. And this one got 2 instrumental tracks, which I don't know what it is with brackets this month, but you've got Flaming Youth and Strange Ways, which have both round brackets and square brackets. 2 instrumental tracks. They're nice. The second one sounds like it could be on like a soundtrack, like a kind of one of those kind of like crime TV shows, like kind of as if something kind of tense is happening.
Yeah.
But still kind of in the distance. Yeah, it's nice, but they're instrumental. I think there's another 3 songs. You've got Revenge, which is another kind of longer one. This one reminded me of Baroness, and even at points like Mastodon and Conjurer. So you might like this one.
Yeah, maybe want to listen to it.
Yeah, it's got a kind of hardcore feel to it, but also that doomy thing. You know, like what Conjurer do really well, where they just move from super heavy, almost like black metal, into doom, into
melodic moments.
Yeah, it's that, but with the kind of Aussie vocals. I think this is another like 6 or 7 minute song, and it's just one to kind of just lose yourself in. I think you've got strangely enough, you've got one which is called Asylum, which is like I think it's only a couple of minutes long. On this album, it's kind of throwaway as a result. Like, it's good, it's fast, it's kind of like the most punky song you'll get on here. But following on from like the long ones, you kind of just, it'll be good live, but it's not one to kind of lose yourself into. As soon as you put it on, it's practically over. Because by that point, you're on to the last song, which is called Unplugged, which thankfully it isn't unplugged. Although I do think they would do a good unplugged. It's just one heavy stuff. Kind of sounds like Death Heaven, really colossal sounding guitars, and that he's got a really throaty vocal line, which is just really nice. This one, I think it's another long one, must be another kind of 8 or 9 minute one, moves into kind of bluesy vocal lines. It's got some weird like jazzy bit in the middle of the song, and then the second third gets really heavy again, and then it goes soft and like atmospheric at the end again, so it just kind of goes all over the place, but it never sounds like it's going, you know when like a band, sometimes you just think just stay in the one place. This band can really do it all, and they do it really well. Honestly, this album's really good. The only thing that I want out of it is just a bit more. It's only 30 minutes long, and I think with the inclusion of the kind of 2 interludes, it just feels like you need like at least 1 or 2 more songs. I think, what was the album you said?
Yeah, it's the same with Valdrin,
yeah. Yeah, it's just sometimes having a bit less of something is really good, but other times you just want a wee bit more. Yeah, I think, I don't know how many, I've not listened to the other albums, so I don't know how to compare it to them, but it's really good. Like, I think it'll be a grower as well. I think if I keep going back to it, it will probably end up in my top 20. Not that there's much competition at the moment, but yeah, kind of surprised by how much I like it, but holy roar, they've done it again, basically. You probably should listen to it too, but it's just, yeah. It's pretty, like I say, it's only 30 minutes, so just stick on, and, I imagine that you'll at least like a few of the songs here. But yeah, I think that's everything for this month. If anybody's listening, I like how I say that. If anybody's listening, I think a few people did check out the last one, so that's reassuring. This one's a bit shorter too, so hopefully, if you've enjoyed this and you want to check out any of the albums, we'll have all the bands linked below, and let us know what you think of them, and if you have any suggestions for next time, which hopefully we'll be doing another one of these quite soon. Just let us know. That's us for this month.
See you guys.
Right.